The whole Vimana thing is getting insane these days because I see a lot of conspiracy theory pages peddling the idea of Vimana so much, pushing it so much that they're trying to legitimize it and prove the existence of aliens and whatever shit they wanna peddle by using this Vimana idea. All their videos speak of how in ancient Indian Vedic texts talk about Vimanas. This is not from the Vedas, this is from a text called Vaimanika Shastra, which claims its origins are from the Vedas, which have shown you that it's not the case. We'll look at one such conspiracy theory video and talk about how he goes terribly wrong throughout the video. We'll break it down different parts of the videos. Let's look at it.
This conspiracy theory about aliens is so insane that it may not only prove the existence of aliens, but it may also disprove the idea that we have of life being linear. What if the true nature of life is cyclical instead? And what if every ancient civilization that we know of was far more advanced than we've been led on to believe? That is exactly the case with the ancient Indian Vimana theory. The Sanskrit texts of the Hindu and Buddhist tradition gives a vivid description of a flying craft called Vimana, and it even describes different types of Vimanas. Ones that would travel from one country to another in the blink of an eye, and others that would teleport from planet to planet almost instantaneously. The ancient Indians described these crafts as being vessels for gods to descend on earth. And in all the ancient Vedic texts, there are in-depth discussions regarding these flying crafts, including a full description of their propulsion system, their many godly weapons, and their ability to turn themselves invisible. These ancient texts even mention the use of mercury in the propulsion process of these aircrafts, which astonishingly is only now beginning to be used by NASA and integrated into their ion thruster type spacecrafts. These ancient Vedic texts even describe aerial and galactic wars between different factions of Vimanas. One story from the book of Drona from over 4,000 years ago describes what many believe to be a nuclear war. It describes a single projectile.
Let's first talk about how he ended the video. He talked about the mercury propulsion system. I've said on another video in this very channel how mercury propulsion systems, that's an ion thruster engine, and it's not a very recent thing. It's been there for a couple of decades because NASA has been around. Rockets have only been around for a couple of decades. I've talked about how ion propulsion systems, they require an electric field to thrust ions out, and since a force in one direction by Newton's third law creates a force in the opposite direction, every force has an equal and opposite reaction. That is what pushes the system forward. It's such a weak force that it can only be used outside the atmosphere of a planet in space. It cannot be used to propel a rocket up from the gravity of a planet. That's one thing. The other thing is that it requires an electric field to thrust ions out. That requires the knowledge of electrostatics and all these things. Mercury is not the type of fuel that you burn to get the exhaust fumes to push the rocket, to propel the rocket in any direction. So without this knowledge of electrostatics, electric fields and whatnot, charges and whatnot, which have not been described in any of those texts, how are you saying that these texts talk about flying crafts that propel themselves forward? Now I'll talk about all this in detail in a video on the main channel, but that will come out soon. I'm planning on releasing it probably next month, so subscribe to the main channel if you haven't. Also, let's watch the beginning of the same video. He said something in the beginning.
This conspiracy theory about aliens is so insane that it may not only prove the existence of aliens, but it may also disprove the idea that we have of life being linear. What if the
people throw around the word prove and prove so much that it completely destroys any meaning that those words have? These are things that you are claiming about the nature of reality. You're claiming that these things are real. What that requires, instead of proof, use the word evidence. There is no evidence for it. And when you don't have evidence for these things, how can you claim that it proves anything? let alone proves aliens or life is not linear. It's all crap. It's all conspiracy theory bullshit that they're trying to push. Now, I'm not saying that aliens are not real. They're definitely possible, but there is absolutely no evidence for them. I'm open to the evidence, but when there's no evidence, you have to just say that there's no evidence. I'll see you in the next.